Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Let's go ahead and open it up to questions. You can unmute yourself, type in, anything goes for anybody, your family, friends, loved ones, clients, or just yourself. Fire away.
And go ahead, Ralph, then Barbara.
Hey, Ralph.
Good evening, Greg. This is a question for a family friend.
Okay.
This lady is 78 years old. She just had back surgery.
Okay.
They had shaved a bulging disc at L1 because
Okay.
she was having back problems. The pain in the spine is gone, but now she's having back spasms. Do we have an oil that will deal with back spasms?
So, there's several things that will deal with spasms, and you'll have to kind of play with which one. My first go-to for something like this is usually Mardrem.
Okay.
Mardrem is very good for loosening up the spine. It's very good for the little spinal muscles, and it's good for those kinds of spasms. And, this is actually kind of common. The issue that causes the pain isn't necessarily the bones or the disc, but the compromised tissue or the compressed nerve around it. And so a lot of times, even after, the surgery, post-surgical issues are still pain and spasms afterwards.
Okay.
So, here's the thing that I would say too, as well, is when you're looking at L1, L2, where there's an issue, you want to rule out that there's a hip issue. And sometimes because the hip is a bit compromised, they don't have pain in the hip, but the gait becomes a little bit abnormal, or they're compensating a little bit. And there starts to be an issue in L1, L2. And so part of that spasm might not just be that localized area, it might also be the hip.
Okay.
If she has an issue in either hip that she's aware of. If not, I would just treat both hips. In the treating of the hips, I would just do like joint relief or rosemary or something that has something for circulation and is antispasmodic.
Okay.
You could do even some of the peppers would be good for the hip and the low back area. So kind of what you use on the back, you could use on the hips as well. The issue is you want to increase blood flow to the hips more so than on the back.
Okay.
So like rosemary is a good one, just because it won't just linger. It increases circulation, it's antispasmodic, and moves blood up to the head. So it keeps the blood moving. So it's a really good one to use on that. But even something like ginger could help. But, basil, petitgrain, and then you can go into like the spikenard, vetiver, rooskous kind of realm. Petitgrain's always a good one. So I'd say whatever you have handy, like grab something like that, make it into an ointment, and then start, having her put it on those issues. But Mardrem would be my first go-to one.
Okay. Use we'll think of it in a minute. Sesame oil is a base.
Yes, you could use sesame oil, and if you're going to do Mardrem, you can even do alcohol as a base and do it as a body tonic or liniment.
Okay.
So whatever she's more comfortable with, but sesame oil is a very good one to use. I would do like 20-25 drops per ounce of whatever carrier you're using.
Okay. 25 drops per ounce.
Yeah. You're going to want it to be strong. It's not for the whole body, it's for a spot treatment. So ointments are usually much more potent than like a massage oil. And so, have her put it on that spot, but be sure to get the hips.
Okay.
Given the location and that there's spasms and everything, that's what happens is the hip will cause like a little bit of a misalignment, but a lot of times it's in the gait, like as they walk. And so the disc will get compromised a little bit, like can bulge or wear unevenly, something of that nature.
Yeah.
But the issue is more in the hip.
Okay. So on the hips, that's directly on the outsides, or should I go
Yeah.
back towards the buttocks a little bit?
I would do on the sides and like the butt cheeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hips, sides, and butt cheeks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you say hips, like you're really wanting to get kind of close into the hip socket, you
Mhm.
know, so it's like if we're going to the butt cheek, it's a little bit lower in the butt cheek, but
Mhm.
usually that whole area can get compromised.
Okay.
So you're really trying to treat the socket, but in doing so, sometimes you have to treat the sides and the whole butt cheek on that one side.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
If you're not sure, treat them both.
Yep. Well, at this point, I didn't see the X-rays and all, so I'll just slather it up.
I mean, sometimes like when they've gone through and do the surgery,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the surgeon will look for the hip socket issue, and
Mhm.
sometimes they won't. You know, it
Okay.
depends on their specialty. Like sometimes spinal guys are just spinal guys. They don't really venture out into the hips and all that. They'll send that off to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like an orthopedic guy where he's looking for structural things that can contribute. And so um you know, I would say a good chance that if she had it, they would have caught it, but you never know. Like you just never know.
Okay.
And bottom line, you're not hurting anything by treating it. In fact, you're kind of stabilizing the spine a little bit more so. Um, you can always do a little bit of you know, digestive calm on the
Mm-hmm.
front, you know, on the abdomen, just
Yeah.
because it will have uh like a like like a relaxing effect on the fascia, but it
Mhm.
is will help to release the fascia a bit, but it will contribute into the psoas. And I mean, if it's really significant, you can use probably like just hyssop, but you could use hyssop and then rotate between hyssop and helichrysum, and
Mhm.
have her inhale with her awareness on the perineum, or like with pH, just clean that perineum like nobody's business. And
Okay.
the issue is it takes some of the tension out of the spine, but um by cleaning up the perineum, you're relaxing the legs and the hips, and you're relaxing the psoas. And
Okay.
by doing that, that takes pressure off the spine, off the low
Mhm.
spine.
Okay. So I'm going to rotate inhaling hyssop and helichrysum with attention on where?
The perineum or perineum, however you want to say.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Perineum.
In
Okay.
Pranikili, we say perineum, but
Yeah. Well,
medically they usually say perineum.
no problem.
It just
Used to be.
depends on what part of the world you're from. You know what
Yep.
I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I used to work in Silicon Valley with an international
Right.
work team around me. I know
Yeah.
what you mean about what part of the world you're in.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So,
Excellent.
and
Thank
any
you.
questions about that, you just let us know. Like, you know,
Yeah.
send
Well,
an
I'll
email or
run it,
something,
and
but
then
that's
if I'll run it, and if I don't get good results, I'll come back and ask some more questions.
okay. Good,
Thanks.
good.
And then go ahead, Barbara, then Christina.
Hey, Barbara.
Hey there. Thanks for this weekend's class. I'm still under the influence. My question has to do with the cordyceps you recommended for my mom for decreasing kidney function.
Mhm.
And she wanted me to ask you if it was possibly interfering with her sleep.
It shouldn't. Um,
I
like what's
think the
happening?
issue,
She's waking up or not being able to go to sleep, or
both, mostly having trouble going to sleep. I think it's stress. Got some family health news that was pretty upsetting
yeah.
today
I
that she's
would
been
put it,
sitting on for a while.
yeah, I would put it more to that than the cordyceps. I
Okay.
mean, cordyceps is like strengthening and fortifying, but it's not really stimulating. You know, the only issue that I could say is like sometimes we go to sleep because we're exhausted, and the cordyceps will strengthen the body so you're not as tired at night, and it might be a little harder to fall asleep. I mean, that doesn't happen often, but it can happen. But my guess is it's the stressful news.
Mine too, and the fact that, yeah.
Yeah.
Bunch of stresses in her life, but this one's,
Yeah.
I think that's
So
what it is.
what can we do to like ease her stress? Like that would be my big thing is, maybe a little something simple like lemongrass or tarragon, clary sage.
I think she might do something internally. She doesn't seem to have the patience to sit and inhale for a long time, but she might a little bit.
Do you happen to have kava kava?
I have a little bit. I
Okay.
could get some.
How about lang lang? Do you have some lang lang?
I do.
Have her take a couple drops of lang lang a day.
Okay.
I mean, Melissa, if you have it, but that's kind of fancy. Lang lang is, not expensive and works good. Like it'll be calming and it'll be soothing. And the reason why I go to lang lang is, it slows down the breath. It's very soothing. It eases frustration, and it's good for calming down the body, especially when pain is present. And here I wouldn't say there's physical pain that we're concerned about. It's more the concern of the family or whatever's going on. It's like that kind of pain. And lang lang's still good for that. Like,
Okay.
So if not even that, like spikenard or vetiver, whatever you have, just grab something that is in that realm and have her start using that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And if she'll not really do the breathing pattern, but she'll take something internal, even a little body tonic, you can even just do a little trial run of making her an ounce of something in lang lang or spikenard, something like that, and have her just slap it on her chest or something of that nature.
That she might do.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Great.
very, very soothing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Blue healer, like if you're gonna do like topical, blue healer could work, Paracelsus could work. Even like the violet healer. I mean, there's this really obscure oil. We always joke around the office that there's a stuff called lavender. Lavender actually works. I crack up because like that's like just bread and butter essential oils. I hardly talk about it. Like even the notes, like we were going through and looking at the daily dose, the things that we put out. I have like Anethi and Bacopa. Don't have lavender in there. Like, who does that? Like that just cracks me up. But like even good old fashioned lavender could be good here.
She might also diffuse something. I don't know.
My top choice would be probably lemongrass for a diffuser for her, but
a body tonic is probably better.
But if she'll do, I mean, you could do all of the above. I mean, marjoram could be good in the diffuser. Lemongrass could be good in the diffuser. And if we're talking diffusers for something like that, Sitka or frankincense could be very nice for her as well. I kind of like the idea of like a spruce or a fir or Sitka, something like that.
I think she'd like that. Okay.
Yeah, it's very soothing. I remember one time, I hadn't seen my mom for a while, and she was going through a tough time, and we were sitting there visiting, and I had a bottle of Sitka, and she was talking about stuff, and I put like 3 or 4 drops on her wrist. I go, rub it together and inhale it, and we were sitting on the patio, so we were like looking out at the backyard, and she was talking, and then all of a sudden she got quiet. And I looked at her and I go, "Are you okay?" And she goes, "I don't have a thought in my head." Like that, whatever that was, it took all the thoughts out of my head. And it was just Sitka. But, it's calming, it's soothing, it's fortifying. And, like we were talking about before, when we're in difficult times, it's not even brain fatigue. I mean, I know I'm splitting hairs here, but there's a thing called psychasthenia, and it's just the part of the nervous system that processes like and generates like thoughts and things. It gets depleted, and when it gets depleted, it's almost like it gets hyperactive. Like it's not hyperactive, like let's solve this problem. It just starts chattering. And you use some sort of spruce or fir or something like that. Spruces work better for psychasthenia. It just calms all that down. Like it just calms it down. Yeah.
Maybe I'll put together rollerball for her to put on her
Yeah.
wrist.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
It could be nice, and she'll gravitate to the thing that brings her relief, and then you can just kind of fine tune it. Like if I give my mom 4 or 5 things, she'll use the one that produces a result, and she'll drop all the other ones. So then you could just double down on the one. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Moms are moms. You know what I mean? And people are people too. Like if they're not into all this stuff, they're just going to use the thing that brings them like immediate relief. Like nothing wrong with that.
And then go ahead, Christina, then Marianne.
Hey, Christina.
Hi, Greg. Can you guys
Hey,
hear
hey.
me? Hey. So I have a client coming for a foot bath,
Uh-huh.
and she's pretty healthy, except she have some pre-diabetes tendencies.
Okay.
So I just wanted to know what's a good oil to use for her for the foot bath. I wanted to do an oil for the foot bath and then an oil for her to inhale during the session. If
And
that's-
so tell me what you're doing. You're just doing a foot bath, and then you're going to have her just sit and inhale something else
Mhm.
with the foot bath?
Yeah. Is that too
Um,
much or?
No, I think that's great. I would probably go, let's sit here and think this out a little bit. I might go something like chocolate root cleanser for the foot bath, just because it does a whole bunch of different things, and very cleansing, very soothing. It cleans up the energy body. It just does a bunch. I would do that, and then I'd have them inhale. I mean, the inhalation, you might want to give them a couple of choices, but
I
I'd
was thinking
throw,
of an angel.
okay. I'd maybe nail it with like give her a choice between the 4 archangels of the directions. So Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, and Uriel. She'll probably pick Michael, but people, that's what people do. Like, you know what I mean?
Doesn't like it.
And so, yeah, I would have her just go through it and inhale that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, if you wanted to get where Sabriel is really nice, especially for calming down potential issues in the body as far as like homeostasis and things. And if you're looking at a pre-diabetic situation, that is a homeostatic issue. The body's shifting and changing, and the two first things on the trading block of the body, because the body's having to rearrange and reallocate, resources to balance something out in the body. It's blood pressure and blood sugar. Like those are just the first two things on the block. So when the body makes adjustments, it will fluctuate those two things. Sabriel is kind of good for calming that down.
thank you.
So you could add that into the choices, or you could just make the choice for her.
Okay. And then, is there an oil that detoxes heavy metals? Like,
Coriander. Coriander does that. Yeah, coriander very much does that.
So does it do all the heavy metals or just specific
It's
ones?
pretty detoxifying to metals in the body. Yeah.
And that includes radiation? Or is that something different?
Radiation, I usually go more holy basil. But I mean, coriander would be helpful, but if you're dealing with some sort of radiation exposure, be it that it's through a cancer treatment, or they had some medical procedure, or sometimes they just get exposed to things. Holy basil over a period of time is really helpful, but even a single treatment can be very, very helpful. If that's what you're dealing with, I'd probably have her inhale holy basil.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank
Still
you
do
so much.
chocolate root cleanser in the bath and just holy basil in the nose.
Yeah, the radiation was actually a conversation I had with somebody else.
Oh yeah.
It was just
Holy
kind of
basil for that
interesting.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah, holy basil for that one.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for.
Remember when the thing happened in Japan where
Fukushima?
yeah, and we started getting radiation blowing over in the winds over here, and that is the number one treatment. You just have people that were in the zones. I just had them start just pounding the holy basil, and yeah, I mean, it's what you would use for radiation for medical procedure. Just anything goes.
Yeah, the person that I had the conversation with, he flies a lot for his job. And one time he was doing a consultation in a chiropractor office, and the chiropractor did some tests on him and found that he had high radiation levels, and it was from the flying, from all the flights that he was on. So I
Yeah.
thought that was kind of interesting.
There's actually a rule of thumb for international pilots and things to only fly to a certain age, like flight attendants and things like that, just because of being so high for so long exposes them to a different kind of radiation that's over decades. It's not good for you, but I mean, it's always a potential. Yeah, that's actually a very real thing.
And then the holy basil, you could do a salt bath with that, right?
You could do a salt bath. You could have them do it internal. Yeah.
So one
I
or
mean,
two
it can be a
drops.
little sensitizing if it gets a little too hot and if their skin's real sensitive. So I mean, I've taken holy basil baths many times, but still just be careful that it's not too overstimulating for them. So you could even have them start it like with maybe 10 drops and see how that goes, but not have you could be hot, but not super hot. Because like it might be okay on their skin, but with the hot water, it opens the pores up more, and things that don't necessarily bother your skin in the bath can potentially bother your skin.
And then is there a limit, like once a week or?
Yeah, at least once a week. I mean, I'd probably do 2 or 3 if they were really dealing with radiation, but at least once a week would be good.
And then with the holy basil foot bath, it would be the same, like 10 drops.
Yeah, like I'd probably do 8 just in case. And then if their feet's okay with it, you could increase it. But sometimes like if you're in a bath and you're having a little bit of, it starts to feel like kind of prickly or like tingly, just put some cool water in the bath or in the foot bath, and it usually will calm it down without having to get out. But still, you never know. Like things that don't necessarily bother you can bother you a little bit in the foot bath or a regular bath. Hey, that's very exciting though.
Yeah.
How's that all going there?
Yeah, it's going. I mean, I did a foot bath with the militrizone that you suggested,
Oh yeah, that sounds
And-
delicious.
and she really liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said she felt a big difference. Yeah, so I hope people like it.
Good.
Thank you very much.
And when to use like maybe we'll send her a sample of the Taggets for there's this oil called Taggets that's in the marigold family, and it's really good for like tired, sore, achy feet.
Mhm.
And that could be a little bit of a standard of like a foot bath that you do, especially if it's just like a foot related issue. And so Samantha will reach out and tell you a little bit about that when
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking people who are not really sick and who are pretty healthy. I
Mhm.
wanted to have some oils on hand, like chocolate root cleanser and lymphatic blend, things like that that everybody can use.
Oh yeah,
To start at my center.
Samantha showed me an email. Like I just haven't had time to answer it, but
Oh, that's
it's
okay.
on my to-do list. Yeah,
Yeah, it's okay.
yeah.
I know you're busy.
Yeah, I'll come up with like a little like menu for you for, I mean, you can do other things too, but just like kind of bread and butter things for the kind of stuff that
Yeah. That would be great. Thank you so much,
you're
Greg.
so welcome.
And then go ahead, Marianne, and then Denise.
Hey, Marianne.
I thank you very much. I just picked up the oils yesterday. Thank
Good.
you so much. I had a question
Yes.
regarding the heliochrysum. Should I continue to ingest it,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
does it help at all just to inhale?
Yes, it does. It's very helpful in inhaling too. But for you, I'd like you to do both.
Okay, and the Chisandra, what do is that inhale?
Again, you could do inhalation, but probably a couple of drops right before you go to bed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to the ginger lily, the
Hmm?
protocol was the men, the back heart, and the crown.
Correct.
And do I do anything else with it in terms of inhaling? And is there do I pause between anything or just do it?
Whatever feels comfortable to you. Like that pattern is really good for kind of cleaning things up. But if you have some specific situation where, it's upsetting or a little bit sad, or, even if it's a little bit painful, like things aren't the way they used to be, or, whatever it is, you could think of the situation and inhale and then just let go for a moment and then think of it again and inhale. It will help to like physically and emotionally help you like process that to a much higher degree.
Okay.
Like it's kind of weird, but like ginger lily, like if you look at it like chemically, like if you look at the chemical breakdown of ginger lily, not really good for pain relief. But when you inhale it and you work with it, it kind of has a pain relieving quality to it, but it's because of how much it cleans up the emotional body.
Okay.
Like it just like cleans that stuff up for especially like hurt, like trauma, but almost like more like hurt feelings, or like painful feelings. And painful feelings aren't necessarily always about you. It can be painful feelings about, how a person in the family is behaving, or behaving towards everybody, or behaving towards you, or you know what I mean, or that nobody's getting along, or there's big
No.
changes for everybody that might not always be for the best. Like in any of that, I would inhale the ginger lily and think about think of that situation as you inhale, for just helping to process and release that.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah. It should be very, very helpful.
Thank you.
Like, I keep going, oh no, one more thing. Sometimes if you have something where like no matter what you do, it's just like, like I just can't get it out of my head. You know what I mean? We've all been there, but one of the things that I use is either like a ginger lily or a lotus, and I put my awareness on the brain.
On the brain?
Yeah, on the brain. And because part of what's happening is, our thoughts aren't always generated by the mental body. There are a lot of times endocrine function happening through the brain. And if you can calm down the nerves in the brain, it will change how you think.
Well, I certainly will try it.
Do you happen to have lemon verbena?
No,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I could order some if you think.
Yeah,
it would help.
I think we just had somebody tell on the thing that they're gonna gift you that. So we'll get that out. We'll get that out
Thank
to you. And so what I'd like you to do, ginger lily on the brain, and then inhale the lemon verbena with your awareness on the ajna between your eyebrows. And that combination like that will shift the thought processes.
And what was that pattern again?
Ginger lily on the brain, and then lemon verbena on the ajna, and then just go back and forth.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Denise, then Robert.
Hey, Denise.
Hi, well, I'm still pretty tired, pretty wiped out. And the class, I got to attend Sunday, but I've never had this happen, but I fell asleep a lot during that class.
Not
And I-
surprising. That class is all about, like, most of the classes in the weekend, they're pretty chill weekends. That one for us on our side was a really chill weekend. It was like, Samantha's doing the process with you guys, and I wasn't necessarily doing it, but you could feel how calm and relaxed everybody was.
Well, I didn't think I just kept working with what you were saying, okay? And I didn't really have a lot, but I thought, I think I'm just so tired that the angels are kind of making sure they're just kind of keeping an eye on me. But
Mhm.
yesterday I just kept crying, just periodically I'd cry, but there was such a flood of relief every single time, a huge flood of relief. And I knew,
like sometimes that crying is a little bit of a reboot. Like I remember Master Choa, who's a Satguru. He's like this very, very developed soul. He would do a healing on somebody. He goes, okay, the healing is done. Now go off in the corner and cry. Like he would tell people, like, go cry. And it's just like women do that better than men, obviously. But it's like sometimes it's just it's a way to like reboot very, very quickly. And so I would, you don't want it to go like out of control, but like when it happens, just like have a good cry and then see how you feel. Like I've told stories like when back in the day when I was traveling with athletes, I'd travel with cycling teams, and sometimes they were men, sometimes they were women. And the men, like as because they'd race for like a week, every day for a week. And towards the end of the week, the guys were just like cranky and getting into fights and shoving each other. And the girls would get upset and cranky and they'd go off and cry. And then they'd come back and then they were like, okay, now let's do this. And I was like, they were way better about doing the whole process. And I used to tease the guys. I was like, you need to go have a good cry. It didn't go over very well, but it's such a great natural kind of reboot that you don't have to force yourself to do it. But if you find it's happening, just isolate yourself, so it's just you can just let go and like do it and then just see how you feel.
well, it felt like my nervous system was just, releasing a lot, and but I still am so tired and run down. Is there anything? I was thinking about vetiver.
Vetiver can be very fortifying, but like the second segment in the angel class was like the adrenal support, or like rosemary, camphor. What else was in there? Rosemary, camphor, sage, I think.
Okay.
And I would actually try some of that, just because it will strengthen the adrenals, like it will fortify the adrenals, but it strengthening them or stimulating them is not how we think of stimulating. Stimulating means that they function better. And part of what happens when you get really tired is your adrenals keep kicking in a little bit to maintain your energy levels. And it will help your body to calm down, but it will be like very fortifying to your body.
Okay, and that would be Saturday's class, right? So I
Yeah,
just
yeah. Sorry,
and
it's the second segment. Yeah,
okay. I'll listen to the whole thing a little
Yeah.
later this evening. Okay.
yeah.
Thank
It's
you.
just one application too. It's not like it's a big complicated thing, and we just did like loops of it.
Okay.
And so yeah.
Thank you. And
You're
anything
so
else, or I guess anything? How about the lemon verbena? Would that be a good one? I think I have rosemary verbena, but I don't think I
Oh,
have.
those are two different things. Yeah. The lemon verbena is good for endocrine function. Um, it's non-specific for the adrenals. I mean, it would balance out and fortify the whole system, but
Better to go.
I kind of like the sage, the rosemary, the camphor, even Ravensara, or the adrenal support, any of that. I think that could be very good for you. It doesn't sound like it would be very relaxing. It'd be very relaxing and then strengthening all at the same time.
That's great. Great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I think that'd be right up your alley.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're so
Oh, have a great weekend, you guys. All
Oh,
right.
thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna write all weekend, and I think Samantha's working on the website. So it's just
Well, she's
we're
done a
just
great
gonna work,
job.
and yeah.
Thank you.
And then I posted those oils as well as the pattern there for you, Denise, in the chat.
Mhm. You know, the
Thank you,
adrenal
Samantha.
support, like I think it was like a week or two ago, how I was talking about when people would have, when I was treating a lot of whiplash, you know, we would start treating fatigue at some point, you know, either preventative or right when the fatigue would start to happen after the injury. I would use this little blend, and it would be Ravensara, thyme linalool, and then a little tiny bit of oregano, and I would sometimes add basil in it. And it's soothing, it's kind of strengthening to all the different parts of the body, and it calms down and regulates the adrenals. And ironically, none of those oils, except for maybe the thyme a little bit, are something you'd go, oh, this is what I'll use for the adrenals. But the combination works very good for fortifying the adrenals because it treats the fatigue in the body. And that blend is actually the adrenal support. That's what that is.
And then go ahead, Robert, then Channing.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, Greg, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Sounds like the class this weekend was pretty awesome.
It was super chill.
For you to say that, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I have a client on the call with us. Michaela has a variety of symptoms
Okay.
she wants to talk to you about. Go ahead,
Sure.
Michaela.
Fire away, Michaela.
Sorry, it was as you were saying unmute, it wouldn't let me unmute. So thank you.
Yeah.
So my symptoms started with an epiglottis infection
Okay.
that then infected the tissues of the airways, and now I have swollen tonsils. But the interesting part is I had my tonsils removed when I was 6 years old. And the doctors keep saying I have swollen tonsils as well as the swollen tonsils around swollen tissues around the airway. This is now my voice. I've gone through puberty at 43. So it does hurt to talk, and I could only speak in like a monotone voice now.
Okay.
And if I speak for a long time, my throat feels like it's on fire. And I've had several CT scans within a month. So they're kind of concerned about that in a way. But in the CT scan, not only did they say the epiglottis part is okay, but the swollen tissues in the and the tonsils, which I'm still confused about, are swollen, and I have colitis. And every time I eat, my stomach's in a lot of pain. And another thing is I have just very low energy, and I'm
Okay.
not sleeping at night, which makes me very tired. And
Mm.
I thank you for any suggestions that you may have, along with anything that may pertain to anxiety as well.
Okay, how about the anxiety?
Um, the anxiety, it's starting to escalate in the past, like I would say 3 to 4 days.
Okay.
Maybe just a little bit more, but yeah, in the last week, I would say. And I feel it's just because I've been having a lot of curveballs coming at me,
Yeah. Yeah.
where it's just, you know,
And would you say that it also kind of corresponds, like when you're not getting good sleep, you're getting anxious when you're not sleeping?
Uh, no, I think it's more just business that I'm having anxiety. Like today I had 2 calls and with the same person asking about 2 people within my industry that give me really bad anxiety. So it's almost drama anxiety and
Okay, gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
not health wise like tonsil and stomach. It's more anxiety in that realm of things.
Okay, so let's just kind of like hit a couple of target things, and Robert can kind of talk you through this a little bit as well after the fact. But right off the bat, the inflammations, I would have 2 suggestions, one being oils, and one, if the oil doesn't work, we'd follow it up with an herb. And the oil that I would have you do is you'd either do a gargle or take a couple drops internally, or preferably you would do a gargle and take a little bit internally. Not necessarily the gargle itself, but maybe a couple drops in water internally. And it's geranium. Geranium is actually very good for kind of inflammations like in the throat and inflamed tonsils and things like this. Are you getting laryngitis at all? Like, you talk a whole bunch and you start to kind of
Mhm.
lose your voice towards the end of the
Ye-
day?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. So the geranium might resolve some of that just because that's probably because of inflammation. So I have one more question. Are you getting asthma or asthma-like symptoms?
No,
Okay.
fortunately
So
not.
geranium would be the reason why I ask for asthma is there is a potential for an issue with your vocal cords, and the vocal cords will cause like asthma-like symptom, but it's not asthma. So if you're
Okay.
not having that issue, let's not worry about it. So geranium to reduce the throat inflammations, and then Robert, if the geranium after like say 7 to 10 days doesn't reduce it by say 40 to 50%, I think I have some here, but you could also get it on Amazon. There's this herb called red root. And I mean, the thing that it does is just it treats the tonsils, like inflammation in the throat, it inflamed tonsils. And it's kind of hard to find because it's super old school and nobody really uses it. And so if it comes down to that, I usually keep a pound around here, so we probably have it. But so that would be the first piece. The part about the colitis, I would when you're having a flare up, yarrow, a couple drops of yarrow internally will usually knock that out. It will reduce the inflammation, will reduce the pain, will reduce any sort of cramping that might happen along with that. And if there's a little bit of bleeding, or like sometimes the area will just kind of ooze a little bit, so it's like not quite bleeding, but it's got a little bit of blood in the mucus. It will calm all that down. You don't necessarily need to be taking it all the time, but once the the issue is you're not in like a period where I'd call like a red alert with the colitis, like it's calmed down and you're functional. I would probably use a little bit of peppermint during the day just to kind of rehab the gut a little bit and ease some of the discomfort that potentially comes with the colitis. But if you're in a crisis where it's really flared up, yarrow is going to be the thing that you're going to use. And so there's that. The laryngitis, I think the geranium is going to calm it down, but there are, let me look at the colitis thing here real quick, or not the colitis, the laryngitis. Give me just a second, let me look up my notes. I know Anula will work, but Anula is very expensive, and so I'm trying to see what I've used for other. Laryngitis, here we go. So you could use Neoli or Kayaput or lemon. Again, I would probably do that as a gargle, but you could do the lemon internally. I mean, you could do any of them internally, but probably a gargle is enough, you know, just to go through and do that. And then, yeah, with that, the thing about the anxiety, let me just sit with that for a minute. So you have things going on, like you said, potential dramas. The one, and this is super out of the box because this is usually not anxiety related, but like you said, there's like potential dramas, and you could say there's like potential like pain or discomfort. You know what I mean? Like these people might do something, they might hurt me, they might go after my reputation, they might badmouth me, they might gossip, they, you know, whatever that might be. There's this oil that is a variation of an old anointing oil. I call it monk's anointing oil. That could be good. If you want to keep it really simple, the use of myrrh, like myrrh would probably be the thing that you can just inhale and would calm that down. You know, like I'm not treating it like this is anxiety, like I'm looking at more of like what the potential root cause for the anxiety is, especially since you're not prone to anxiety except for like, you know, recent development. I think that could actually be your ticket.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, a lot, especially with the anxiety part too, because
Yeah, I think, you know, for one, like when you don't feel good, you know, anxiety is worse when you don't feel good or you're tired. You know, like if somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I need a favor from you," and you're well rested, you're like, "Well, okay," or "No, I'm not going to do that." But if you're exhausted, you're like, "No, I'm not doing that. I don't have," you know, you just kind of have the reaction because you don't have the juice in your legs for it. And you're kind of in a place where you're not feeling good and you're probably a little tired. You're not getting great sleep from every night. And so I think it's more of just, if you can calm down the potential pains, the anxiety will probably regulate itself. Like, you know, I think even the things that we're all talking about, here also potentially would help you to sleep better. They're not necessarily something I'd say this is great for sleep, but I think if we get all some of this stuff calmed down, your sleep will get better.
Thank you. I think
Yeah.
that really, really helps a lot, because the anxiety I also have been receiving is, which is probably good, this throat thing, but today it just happened to be a blah of everything today. And
Yeah.
me stepping back and being like, am I creating an issue, with people presenting these problems? And it's really hard for me to not be transparent and speak truthfully about situations, that arise, especially when people are for advice.
But there's this old saying or this old like story where there's this king and he has some psychic or clairvoyant come to him, and the psychic, he asks the psychic, tell me about my future, and the psychic says everybody around you dies, and he's like, off with your head. Then the next one comes and he's like, tell me about my future, and he's like, all the people around you, they die, and he's like, off with your head. And the third one comes and he says, tell me about my future, and he goes, you outlive everybody. He loves that answer. Told him the same thing, but he loved that. And so I would say that's being tactful. Like, you know what I mean? You're being very tactful in what you say. Being tactful, it takes a lot of energy, because you're having to process a lot of pieces of information. You're having to not just think of you, you're having to think of how they're going to take it, a little bit of empathy, and like, how are they feeling, and how's all that going? And so to be tactful, you kind of have to be in like a place of where your body feels good, your emotions feel good, your mind feels good. It's hard to be tactful when you feel crappy. You know what I mean? Like there, you just like, ugh. So I wouldn't say that you're creating something. It's just probably harder to be a little bit tactful in those situations when you have to be tactful.
Thank you. I
Does that
appreciate
help? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. So
Thank
I
you.
want to review, if I can, just to make sure I got this right.
Uh-huh.
For her throat, gargle and internal geranium. It
Correct.
should be
Any
17
form of geranium, by the way. Like it could be rose geranium, geranium bourbon, Egyptian, whatever it is. Just whatever geranium you have.
Okay. And that should make it better 40 to 50% in 7 to 10 days. And if not,
it should. Yeah.
Okay. And if it doesn't, red root herb from Amazon, or get in touch with you on that.
Yeah.
And then for the colitis, yarrow internally, for how long?
Until it calms down. Like, you don't want to use yarrow like for prevention. So, if it's really bad, you use it till it calms down. But the rule of thumb is, like, if you're having to use it long term, like if it was a really serious colitis issue, you would go 3 weeks on, 1 week off, then 3 weeks on, 1 week off. But if you're just in an acute phase, and even if you went 4, 5, 6 weeks, it would be fine. It's more of the long-term effect, because if you don't take that 1 week off, like say you're treating a really bad case of colitis, and if you don't take the week off, it just starts to affect how the body absorbs and processes iron. And so, in acute case, I wouldn't worry about it. But if you're looking at it like, okay, this is a long-term solution for a problem, 3 weeks on, 1 week off, if you're doing it like, months at a time. And so the yarrow should calm things down pretty quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you said once it's calmed down, do some peppermint internal during the day.
Yeah, just like I wouldn't do it at night, just because like it will relax the sphincter of the stomach. And so like if you do it about 2 or 3 hours before you go to bed, when you lay down, sometimes stomach acid will go up the esophagus a little bit, just because it's relaxed, but if you do it during the day, it'll wear off. It won't be an issue.
Okay.
But it will help to rehab the gut. And if there's pain or some inflammation or something like that, it will be a very good way to prevent the colitis from flaring up again.
Okay. And then you also recommended a gargle, either an aioli, cajeput, or lemon.
Yeah.
And then for the anxiety / drama, sustained inhalation, myrrh or monk's anointing.
Yeah.
Oil.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And the piece right before that with the neoli, cajeput, lemon was for laryngitis. So if she's not having laryngitis, I wouldn't worry about it. But if there's that flare up, now a better treatment is Anula. So you could even put like just a couple drops in one of those little tiny bottles and have her inhale it. But you know, it's a pricey oil. So
And Anula's sustained inhalation.
yeah, all of those would be sustained inhalation. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
For the laryngitis.
For the laryngitis. Okay, no problem. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. And then if we need to adjust, let us know.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, and just I thought you had said gargle for the laryngitis with the Anula or the Neoli.
You could gargle, but like I already have her gargling so
Oh, okay,
much.
okay.
So like if she wants to gargle 3 or 4 times, she could, but like,
Got it.
you know, already a couple of times of gargling. You know.
And then go ahead, Channing, then Sonia.
Hey, Miss Channing.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Sam.
Hey.
So this spiritual development thing is hard work.
Yeah. I hear you.
I have a really quick share about angels. I had a question I sent in over the weekend in class, and it was, how do you know when you are in the presence of an angel? You know, after we were doing our oils and then the toning. And I'm just sitting there. It's like, where's my angel? I can't feel my angel. And then later on, we went to a concert. We were in like this complete dive bar in the middle of Seattle with this really interesting Australian performer. And right in the middle of all of that, Greg, I felt the presence of an angel.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I mean, it usually is like kind of a peace or a stillness. And it's
Totally.
almost like a peace and stillness that's beyond what you can do. You know what I mean? It's like I can relax, but I can't relax like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it completely dispelled any sort of like preconceived notions of I need to be sitting alone in the middle of like a wide open field with no, you know, sign of life around for me to have that connection. But here I was in the middle of like this, you know, very rundown concert hall and, you know, this music venue. And then there it is. I felt so calm and a little bit like a sense of elation and joy that I had never felt before in the midst of all this tremendous change that's happening in my life, as you know it. So I thought that was really cool. And
that's very cool. And you know, like that idea of needing to be in a quiet place or out in a meadow or something, it's nice, but it's because you're trying to get your physiology to a place where it can have that connection. But with what we did over the weekend, it's almost like you're going to your inner meadow or that inner quiet place, and it doesn't kind of matter what's going on around you. And if you think of like what angels are, they're, you know, we're invoking them because we want to feel better, or we want this, or we want that. But they have tasks. And so what starts to happen is if you're able to connect with that stuff starts to happen like around you. You almost become like a magnifying glass to situations with that angelic energy coming in. And it's not that you have to invoke it. You just start interacting with a situation, or you're around a situation, or people are reaching out to you. Things start to happen.
Yeah, and
an angel is really just a way of saying an energy with consciousness. You know, it's different kinds of energy emanate from God that have specific tasks. We call it an angel because it's how our brain can like process it, but there's not some dude, Michael, walking around the inner world with a sword on his shoulder going, anybody want some? They're like, come on. Like, I'm ready to take somebody on. It's just a kind of energy, but our mind has to have like a focal point. So we have the imagery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really special experience. And I'm for sure going through class certainly helped facilitated that. It just didn't come at the moment that I was expecting it to come. So
yeah, like in the moment you kind of feel nice and calm and chill, but it's like I said, you're kind of creating that like inner altar, that inner meadow or something, so that
Yeah.
when help is needed, it comes really without even having to send the email. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Speaking of emails, that task that I had to do, I didn't even get a chance to send it in, and the manager reached out, said he was just checking in to see how it was going, and it was a sign that he was eager to see what I had to do, and I sent it in to him, and he wrote back and he said, great presentation.
Yeah, you have some fans there.
And then yesterday was a really hard day too, which is why I can't wait till Friday. But I had a hard conversation with the other person.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah.
And I don't, but I had already felt that energy days before, when I think I mentioned that to you when we spoke on Friday. So that happened.
I would say, I know it's like, it's easy to say because I'm not in it and the situation is what it is, but you're in the process of being in some other situation. So I would say it's mind over matter.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I would say it is, you shouldn't mind because she doesn't matter.
I like that.
Yeah.
So then
like you're walking away from that situation. So like, whatever, for her, just whatever.
She's trying very hard to put.
Of course she is. I'd almost be offended if she wasn't. Like, you know what I mean? Of course she is.
Strange. Yeah.
Everybody's going to take their swing. You know what I mean? It's like the reason why I always say this, I say that a lot, by the way, when somebody does something, like I always say, I would be offended if they didn't. It's because they don't think that like I'm good or I'm capable or whatever. So like them doing that means that they think that you're capable or whatever. So
I didn't see it that way, but it's good to hear.
Yeah.
So my body.
There's an old Chinese saying, to be cursed by the devil is to truly be blessed. I'm not calling her a devil, but she's an adversary. That she's cursing you, good job.
Thanks, I think.
Yeah.
So speaking of all that, I think my sort of, what's the word, Greg? The things, the challenges that I'm encountering going through this process for me is just how tired my body is for being the shield for negativity. So I'm just like exhausted.
Just use some hyssop, or a chopper root cleanser, just to minimize absorbing negativity that's being projected at you or in the situations, and then just stay task at hand. Like, don't really spend time thinking about all of that. Just stay on the tasks that are going to get you to that next step, so whatever little drama is, the little drama, like, it's like what we were talking about before, like, just don't get too involved in it. You just, whatever is said or done. Yeah. I'd be offended if she wasn't doing it. You know what I mean?
Okay. So I've been using body tonics as well, like Health Rays.
Health Rays would be good, and Lang Lang would be good. Do you have Lang Lang?
I have the oil, but I don't have the body tonic.
Maybe just put several drops in a lotion and then rub it on your body. It will be very, very soothing for you as you go through this week.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah. Or a Lang Lang salt bath.
Okay, that I can do easily. Yeah, and then red healer during
Think
the
it,
day.
like Ling Ling's good. It calms the body down. It slows down the breath. It's calming to the heart. It's also super good for frustration. And part of what you're having right now is a little bit of frustration with that person in the situation and whatever. You just got to get through the next week or two. You'll be fine.
Okay, thanks. Light at the end of the tunnel. And then
Yeah.
really quick last question. Can
Mhm.
you say what is causing tightness in the forearms? What causes tightness in the forearms? My
Are you
forearms,
clenching your hands?
not that I'm aware of. It might be unconscious.
Like when you're resting, are you doing this?
I might. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not aware.
It's body tension. It's stress, a little bit of anxiety, but you're not getting headaches or migraines or anything like that.
No, I'm not. It's just more body physical fatigue.
Do something to calm down the body, like even lavender or lavendin, something like that, spikenard, valerian, vetiver, something that's just kind of calming and soothing to the body.
Okay, great.
Yeah. You just, like I said, it's just a little bit of like usually work life is very stable, but you're going through a situation where it's changed. It's not necessarily chaotic, but it's chaotic-ish. You know what I mean? But it's growth. It's not like negative chaos. It's just like whenever there's a shift or a change, it's a little chaotic for a little bit, and it can be a little bit unsettling to the nervous system.
Yeah.
Paracelsus could be helpful. And you know how I can't remember who I was talking to, but the thing about inhaling on the perineum.
Mm-hmm.
So part of that is you could, if you have Paracelsus or wormwood or absinthium, part of that is you're unwinding a part of the energy body, but you're also by treating that area, you're harmonizing this particular aspect of the nervous system called the enteric nerves. And the enteric nerves are like very like primal nerves that we have that are in our gut, and they're tied to that balance or homeostasis. And so it's the only part of the nervous system that if you were to sever the nerves between that area that they hit the gut and the brain, like everything else, you just lose function because the nerve is not connected to the brain anymore. The enteric nerves continue to operate independently of the brain. Like it's literally, they have a mind of their own. Like it's very primal, but it's all about homeostasis and balancing and everything. And so sometimes when you're in situations that are unstable or a little chaotic, you can treat that area, and it has like a stabilizing and balancing effect on the enteric nerves. Or you can use valerian. Valerian is considered a restorative to the homeostasis mechanism. Spikenard is very close to valerian. Valerian works better, but if you don't have valerian, you can use spikenard. And it just kind of helps like it's a restorative. It just helps the homeostasis mechanisms and the nervous system just kind of reboot when something like that is happening. So you might need a little bit of that for a week or two.
Okay, I'll do those things. So wormwood and absinthium I do have. I don't have the
perfect. Yeah, just use those.
And then just inhale with awareness.
Inhale with your awareness on the perineum. The valerian and the spikenard, you could use it on that area too, but I would just take a couple of drops of the valerian internally. Just a little bit of water. If you don't have that, use spikenard and do it at the end of the day. But when there's homeostatic issues, valerian is invaluable. I mean, it's just so good at treating that.
Mm-hmm. Did you say take spikenard internally is okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Did I hear Sam say something?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like
All right.
sometimes when I have a bit of insomnia, I'm like, ah, like I take 6-8 drops and man, I'm out. Yeah.
Thank you, Greg. This was really great.
Yeah. And Melissa, like if you feel like some emotions coming up a little bit, like at work, 3-4 drops of Melissa internally, and you'll just be chill.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to do that.
Melissa is amazing. Like it's good for like when you're in anxiety or fear or anger, it will calm it down. But if you use it preventatively, it will reduce the production of lower emotion, and then whatever lower emotion gets up, it kind of just converts it to higher emotion, which is like of the heart. So it turns it into like patience, tolerance, loving kindness, whatever it is.
Just laughing at something. Fantastic. Thank you. And thanks, Sam. That was great.
Yeah.
And then go ahead, Sonia, then Marianne.
Hey, Sonia.
I'm having a lot of reverse reactions from oils and stuff. And I remember an Ayurvedic MD from India, he had a clinic there, had said that, he says, I was overstimulated pitta vata, and when you lose all your resources and you're exhausted, it flips to the opposite. It's kapha vata, but he said you can't treat it from there. You have to treat it from the pitta vata, and he said, no spices, no hot stuff, no action movies, because it will increase the pitta vata and reduce already resources that are exhausted. And I'm thinking maybe that's why a bunch of the oils are producing opposite effects.
Paradoxical things can happen for all kinds of things. If exhaustion is the issue, which that's very potentially possible, I would use things like absinthium. Absinthium is one of the best things for an exhausted body. And then the like Ravensara, like things that are considered like terrain treatments. And so terrain is not like specifically trying to treat one thing or another. It's just trying to fortify the body and kind of get the body's processes working, but not through stimulation, just because the body's getting stronger. And so Ravensara is very good for that. It's very soft. It's very gentle. It's well tolerated. You can do very big dosages on the skin or through inhalation. And I would say a combination of those two could be very fortifying to a very depleted body. The brain fatigue, sages can work, but if you felt that wasn't working for you, I'd maybe switch over to using some form of spruce, like either Sitka or white spruce, something like that, just to fortify the nervous system. Something that's resinous. So even if you had other firs, that would work. Spruce is my first choice there, though. But even myrrh or frankincense can be helpful if you don't have the spruce.
Myrrh or what?
Frankincense.
And did you say the first one was sage?
Sage is what you would use for brain fatigue, but if you find that it's not working for you, then switch to like some sort of like Sitka or spruce or something like that.
Okay. I get inflammation from frankincense, and
then maybe just try the myrrh. I would choose spruce first, but if you don't have that, then those were other choices.
Okay. And you know, I'm exhausted all the time and it never relieves, but like, then I have chronic pain. Well, so finally they find out the other day that my collarbone is dislocated. And, like if I use it for bass or before going to like a chiropractor or an osteopath, I don't get anything from marjoram, and I've used bottles of that, or Glory of Lebanon, or the anti-spaz. I tried peppermint. I get a reaction clearly from that, and it tingles, but on the spastic paralysis, it feels like it's burning, and I get slight burn on my skin, and I get hot and sweating like for days. And I'm wanting,
Like, where do you get sweaty? Like on your abdomen, your
it's
forehead,
my whole body.
your whole body?
It's hot and sweating. It'll wake me up, or
Have you ever worked with
into my
anise
shirt.
very much? Have you
What?
ever worked with anise? Have you used anise very much?
I've used it some for inhalation.
And do you have a reaction when you use it?
I don't notice it from inhaling.
Let's have you do so absinthium and Ravensara, and let's have you work anise in there and try those three, and let's see how that treats you. Use those pretty solid for a week to 2 weeks.
And I'm using the anise for what?
You're using it to balance out the autonomic nervous system, because the sweating is a disturbance in the autonomic nervous system. And so you're just trying to balance and fortify that part.
Okay. Well, like sadness and grief, will that help?
I would just stick with those three and just work those three for a little bit, get the body feeling a little bit better, and then we can do a next level. But if you're super fatigued, you have to kind of treat the fatigue.
Okay. Yeah, I've got autonomic dysregulation.
Yeah,
So-
the anise should help that.
What is ANS support also helpful for that?
I would do the anise. Just stick with those three, like just mostly inhaling, or if you can put a little bit on your body of the Ravensara, that would be good. But the other things, just inhale.
Okay. Yeah, and how do I figure out, what to avoid in terms of hot oils?
Right now, I would just treat the fatigue, because if you treat the fatigue, that might change.
Okay.
And then go ahead, Marianne, then Megan.
Hey, Marianne.
I am sorry, but I'm needing a reminder. I just want to run through the oils I spoke with you about. You were incredibly clear. My capacity to process information is changing, and my note taking is awful.
No
And
problem.
if I don't clarify now, I'll just lose it.
And can we,
The heliochrysum I was to ingest. And
right.
the Shannon is, I don't know how you say that,
Schisandra?
Shannon. And you said 1 to 2 drops? Or
Like
am I-
probably two drops, like
Okay.
at bedtime, like in a little bit of water.
Okay, and inhale also?
You could, yeah. It's very fortifying. It's very kind of balancing and very soothing to the nerves, and it helps. It's like it's helpful to sleep, but not because it's like, you know how like spikenard or something is very relaxing. It's relaxing because it just like it fortifies the body enough to where you just go, oh, I can really relax. You know,
Okay.
where when the body's not like a little bit fatigued, you actually go into a little bit of higher adrenal activity and the body just can't relax. You know, haven't you ever been like, oh, I'm getting tired, I'm getting tired. I could lay down and like just crash out. And then you go a little bit too far past exhaustion and then you lay down even though you're super exhausted and you can't sleep. It's
Yeah,
because your adrenals kicked in, you know,
okay,
because you're so tired. So the Shazandra, they don't necessarily calm the adrenals down directly, but because it's so fortifying to the body, it allows the body to relax.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And then the ginger lily, you said I can also focus on the brain.
Yes.
Okay. And was there anything else?
Well, we're talking about like if there's situations that are a little bit upsetting or painful, you
Yeah.
could think of the situation and inhale the ginger lily.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And the lemon verbatim, was that focus on the brain too, or
No,
was
the ajna.
the
Because we're gonna
okay,
we're kind of working the brain and the endocrine system to have an impact on the mind.
that's where I got off.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
just wanted to clarify. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I think this is going to be very, very helpful.
And then go ahead, Megan,
Hey, Megan.
and then we have
Hey, I've been working on this client for probably a year and a half or so, and we've made lots of progress, but it's just not very fast, and I want to give her more progress. She has severe fatigue. She'll go to bed at 7 p.m. She'll take a nap. She was diagnosed a couple of years ago with Epstein-Barr. I don't know if she still has it.
Okay.
There was talk of maybe she had mono. So I've been trying to focus on the lymphatic system and working on the lungs and combing the health rays and cleaning the arms and legs a ton and doing lower chakras a ton. And it's kind of like, it's just not a big change. It's just like really slow. And then I thought, I don't know if there's an endocrine issue. I know that can be involved in fatigue, and I'm just less knowledgeable about endocrine than.
Yeah, sure. Well, endocrine system super complicated. Like, is there any other kind of details or anything? We just know that she's fatigued.
It was really low blood pressure before, but now it's pretty close to normal, on the low side of normal. And then thyroid was an issue. Low thyroid.
And is the thyroid getting better or no?
I don't know. I haven't asked if she's had that tested, and I don't
I would treat the thyroid. You could have her use clove to balance it. Like anytime the thyroid's off, clove, be it too high, too low, can help balance things out.
Okay.
And that could affect the energy level. But I mean, I think all of these are symptoms, but is there like any bigger thing that's kind of going on or?
Not that we know of. And and I'm doing pranic healing. It's twice a week. And she does have some oils because she's taken a couple classes. I don't know her whole collection, but I know she has the Metatron kit, and I know she took one of the lymphatic modules, which she said just completely knocked her out. Like she was practically in bed the whole next day. It must have stirred up a lot of old stuff. So
Yeah.
that's kind of all the data I have.
And you want to treat her with oils or you want to treat her with pH?
pH for now. I think it's probably a little hard for her to do a lot of stuff at home. She always says she wants to, but I don't want to try to pressure her. So I think she probably just wants to get treated right now. Maybe when she has a little more energy, she might want to do more oils at home.
Okay, this is what I'd like you to like kind of focus on is you're going to do this thing where you're going to have her visualize when you're working on her, right?
Okay.
And so have her visualize herself in a ball of light. Okay, while she's doing that, you sweep the aura. Like, you just do general sweeping.
Mhm.
Like go through, clean up front, back, and even on the sides. Like, like look at it from the side and like you're sweeping the front of her body, but like, do 5 lines on each side. Like you're really doing that. And then even clean like after you have swept it down, she's still visualizing the ball. Clean the basic, the spleen, the Mingmen, and the crown in that order. Basic, spleen, Mingmen, crown.
Okay.
Okay. And so that's going to flush more out of her aura, right? That releases things out of the aura. So then after you've done that, then tell her just to let go. Right. And then when she lets go, again, kind of sweep, but then you're going to have to evaluate where is it coming out. It's most likely going to come out of the spine, the arms and the legs, or the lower chakras, potentially the brain, but my guess would be one of the first 3. And then clean that up a little bit and then have her visualize in the white ball again. And then just keep repeating the process over and over again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, do that. There's a next step after that, but that will be several sessions worth of work.
Okay.
Just doing
this
that
is
over and
like
over again.
6 sessions or something like that.
Oh, probably like 3 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then let me know how she's doing. Like just shoot a quick email or something. Let me know how she's doing and we can make an adjustment, soon.
Cool.
And then we have a couple questions
Mhm.
in share as well. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any early. Okay. I have a male client, lots of grief, loss of father and mother, dying of cancer, feelings of shame, Catholic guilt, taking care for mother.
What's the shame about? I'm just curious.
Not sure.
Okay. But they can identify that they feel like ashamed or some form of shame.
Yes.
Okay.
Their partner left them, poor self-image, also probably
the
some,
shame is probably the partner. Okay. So a lot of loss.
mhm.
Boy, a lot of loss.
So there's twofold with this. So there's the client I've been working with this. I've not ever been courted this much by a client,
Yeah.
and I need help with that.
Yeah. So the courting can reduce with using hyssop, like wear hyssop during the session and even inhale, like thinking of the person. Like think of the person, inhale hyssop, and then go to your spine, inhale hyssop. go back and forth with that. That should help to reduce it. It's not going to completely stop it, but it will reduce it. Part of the thing, like when somebody cords us, is it actually kind of jacks up the nervous system a little bit. So you're treating it energetically, and by going through and doing this, you're also reducing the bouncing back and forth between their energy body and your energy body, and it helps to regulate your involuntary part of your nervous system so that it doesn't get as thrown off, like when they're courting you so bad. So I would do that, and then the loss. So this is a weird thing to say. I wouldn't say it to the person, but like, there's the loss from the past, but there's also the loss that's happening with the parents being ill and getting ready to pass is much as, and if you think about even what's happening with the courting session, the courting during sessions is like sometimes when the loss is still in motion, they try to hold on harder. Like, you know what I mean? They're trying to like not lose their parents, not lose the people around them, not lose the thing that brings them stability. Like, it's not very conscious, but it's still, it might be slightly conscious, but it can be, it needs to be addressed before dealing with the losses or the trauma of the loss. Because it's like if you're just treating the loss of the partner and the shame and that piece of trying not to lose anything, that gets set in motion, and even letting go of the trauma and the feelings, actually, even because it's like our physiology doesn't see it as like, let's let go of that, but not let go of that. The body is either like, we're letting it all go or we're not letting anything go, right? And so you got to kind of be able to calm down the physiology a little bit. And I'm thinking of like, what could that be? Let me just think about this for a second. Honestly, you know what I would probably use? I would use give me just a sec here. Zodiac. Okay, so this is what I would do. I would either use have them inhale lemongrass. Like, lemongrass needs to be their new best friend. They need to be just inhaling that all the time, taking a few drops internally. There's also this angel blend that I wouldn't normally go, let's use an angel to treat this particular situation, but I think it would really help the kind of thing that they're going through. And it's out of the old Zodiac class, and it's the Angel Barchiel, Barchiel. And it's a very interesting like little blend. And I got to say, I had a personal experience with it, like just when I was in situations where I was feeling like a little out of control, and then would feel like I'm getting a little controlling, or like I just like kind of clamp down, like I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. I would use Barkiel, and I would be like, it's all good. Like I could almost instantly like let go. And so what started happening, like for myself, like this might help, is it was when I was like traveling every weekend and everything, it was many years ago. But like some things in my personal life got a little bit, they were going through change. And so then every time I got ready to travel, my back would start hurting. Like it was like, okay, flying out Friday, Thursday afternoon, my back hurts. Like, and it wasn't bad, but it was enough to like, should I fly? Should I not fly? Because I was just like, too much is going on, too much change. And like, I was trying everything, nothing was calming it down. And one day I just kept hearing the name, Barkiel. I was like, ah. So I invoked the name and I was like, I feel a little bit better. I started wearing the oil. Like I could feel my back flare up, put a few drops on, it would completely go away. And I was like, really? But it's that thing of like we all have that potential of feeling a little like out of control and clamping down. And so lemongrass will help, but this blend with Barkiel could be the ticket for this person.
Also with this particular client and for the next, any pH suggestions?
To calm down lack of control. I mean, lack of control with that would be clean the arms and legs a lot for elementals. Clean the Ming Men a lot, focusing on change. Like you'll have to use electric violet on the Ming Men, like, but focusing on change. Yeah.
Any chance you could cut the remaining cord between me and them? I keep cutting, but it always
Yeah,
seems.
I'm glad to do it. Yeah, I'll do it right after this thing. I'll break out the tools.
And then I have another client, a regular cocaine user with massive anxiety in the stomach and solar plexus. I mean, I have the age and stuff like that, but any questions for?
And so you're just like, they're
wanting
off cocaine, or you're trying to get them off cocaine?
He wants to get off.
Okay. Okay, this is going to be a weird question, but is he in a relationship? Is he single? Is he dating?
Semi-relationship.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the issue. Sex and cocaine hit almost the same exact center in the brain. And so getting them off cocaine sometimes is a little bit harder, because what happens is they'll start to become more sexual, or the sex will trigger them to like want to start using. And if they weren't in a relationship, usually my rule of thumb in the old days was you gotta be celibate for a year. It hardly ever happened, but we would shoot for that. Sometimes there's this herb, maca. I would have them use maca sometimes, just because it can help offset some of the cravings for cocaine. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I would clean and again, electric violet, heavy on the sex chakra, and then back heart, back throat, crown, and brain. Yeah, heavy on the backside of the brain. a little bit in the prefrontal cortex as well, but heavy on the brain, but especially the backside of the brain. And this is the thing that I would also say. They're probably going to go back and forth. They're going to stop and then they're going to use, and they're going to stop and they're going to use. This is super normal. You have to be able to be in a place where you kind of, that they're, when they're not using, just go, well, they're not using for now, but they might start using again, right? And then if they flip and they start using again, you're just like, okay, we got to walk them back to not using. And you just keep increasing the amount of time that they're not using, and that when they flip and start using again, that those times become shorter. Like, so basically what I'm saying is try not to get too frustrated in the situation. It's normal for them to flip-flop, and you almost just have to be like a scientist watching a mouse going through the maze trying to get the piece of cheese. Like, you just look at it as like a scientific, from a scientific point of view. Flip-flopping is pretty normal in a lot of addictions, but especially cocaine, because of the center in the brain that has to do with sex. And so make sure that the sex chakra is not too overactivated. The other thing that I would make sure the jaws aren't too overactivated. Usually if the jaws are overactivated, the Mingmen's overactivated, the perineum's overactivated, the soles of the feet are overactivated. So check just a rule of thumb, check the sex chakra, check the jaws. If they're normal, everything else is usually normal, but check those. And then you're probably not going to, the way to handle this also with the relationship is clean the cords between him and the person he's dating, but the cords of the heart. Like, make it more about emotional connection rather than a physical connection. That can shift the brain stuff. Because it's going to hit different parts of the brain. But just the sexual stimulation, if it's not regulated by a connection or relationship, or just if it's just about the act, it's going to stimulate the same part of the brain. But if you make it about emotional connection, I'm not saying you're trying to make them become married or whatever, but just help him to be able to be more emotionally connected to the person. Yeah. And then if you have questions, I'm glad, email, and we're glad to work that out with you.
I can tell he's a tough guy looking, but he's very sensitive.
Yeah. A lot of times drug use is managing pain or managing sensitivity. Like, it's usually more about that than it is about just having a good time and using drugs. It's usually they're medicating something. Yeah, but I would agree with you. There's either some past pain or trauma, or feeling too vulnerable, or some version of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are people who it's almost like an allergy where they can't stop, but be it alcohol or other drugs. But that is, I always found it to be much rarer than people would think. Most times it's about some pain or some vulnerability or some sensitivity, like we have this friend that she's super sensitive, and she drinks and smokes all the time, but it's how she manages the sensitivity. And so she doesn't drink a lot, she doesn't smoke a lot, but she smokes enough, and you could always tell, like, it will fluctuate depending on how sensitive she feels. And so, she'll say, I need to stop. And I'm like, stop when you find another way to cope. Like, don't take your coping mechanism away. Like, she's not out of control. Just, she's just super sensitive. and nobody taught her how to regulate it. And so it's you hear stories of like yogis that live up on the mountaintop, like this happens like in India and Nepal and things, and they're in isolation, they're in this quiet space, they're meditating, they're chanting their mantras, they're super blissed out, but then they got to go down into town and go to the store and buy their rice and their whatever it is they buy. So before they go down, they smoke a couple packs of cigarettes to reduce the sensitivity, so that when they go around the people, they're not overwhelmed. And then they go through, they buy their stuff, they go back up to the top of the mountain, they do purification to get rid of all the smoking, and then back to doing their meditation and their mantra. If they don't do that, when they go into town, sometimes it flips them out, like, because it's so overwhelming. They're so expanded that their body can't handle it. And so this happens to people sometimes, especially when they haven't had a teacher, or they're super sensitive, or when just something bad has happened, And bad could just be like somebody they love, passed away, or, or went away, or it doesn't always have to be some, devastating thing. It's devastating to them, but it doesn't always have to be some big dramatic thing. Like I remember this one student, one of their dear friends, like you could say it was her best friend, and her best friend moved away, and it threw her in a tailspin. And it's nothing bad happened. It's just she lost her friend. Her friend was still available by phone. It was still, this is many years ago. So it was email or phone, but they didn't see each other every day, and they were seeing each other every day. And it just, so, it started to turn into the use of substances. And, it took a little while, but after everything evened out, then she was fine again. So the addiction was situational. It wasn't that they were an addict. They just had an addiction for a period of time, and then it went away. Yeah. That happens a lot with addiction, by the way.
They said thank you.
Yeah. Glad to email that out or talk that out more if you need it.
And then go ahead, Sonia.
Hey, Sonia.
Can I use wormwood instead of absinthium?
Yeah. Absinthium's a little bit better, but splitting hairs. Like if you have wormwood, just use the wormwood.
What does Paracelsus do?
Paracelsus would work as well.
Okay.
Great. And great questions tonight, guys. And I think we have some time for
Little practice. Okay. Let's have you if you have hyssop, grab your hyssop. If not, get something hyssop-ish, like a eucalyptus or a larch or Sitka. I'm gonna run to that.
Okay, and I forgot there was another question. Okay, so really quick before we start, someone just had a question. My eyebrows have shortened by half in the last 3 to 4 weeks, bushy by the ajna, and just gone by halfway to the temples. Any thoughts?
Yeah, sometimes that is weird as it sounds. It's a little bit of a thyroid issue, and so I'm not sure if it's going to make your eyebrows go back, but we can at least maybe stop some of the thinning. But I would use clove internally, like a couple of drops daily. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's yeah. Like if you start like watching and looking at people, that's actually like kind of a common thing, but it's a little bit of a thyroid thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that your thyroid's completely like has a medical condition, but it can start to be just a bit out of balance or a little bit depleted. And so you know,
Just a couple drops internal.
yeah, but daily. Yeah, yeah.
Someone goes, I've been starting to take 1 to 2 drops of clove daily. I'm curious if mine grow back.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that you need to do anything else other than that, but at least we can maybe stop it or slow it down. But yeah.
Nice. And then, okay, now we'll go back to the practice. It was hyssop, sitka, eucalyptus.
Yeah, some hyssop if you haven't, but if not, something hyssop-ish. Okay, and okay. So take some long, slow, deep breaths with whatever you have. And we're going to do like a little bit of inhalation and then a little bit of visualization and then a little bit of something with your breath. Okay, so just inhale the hyssop for a little bit. And if something jumps out in your body, some ache or pain, put your awareness on that as you inhale. Okay, keep inhaling the oil that you're using. Your awareness is on your feet. And just let the inhalation go. Now we're going to switch to visualization. You're not going to use your oil. Okay, visualize from your knees down to your feet. Visualize your lower leg, your ankles, your feet, green, like brilliant, brilliant green. Your eyes are closed. You're visualizing your legs green. Keep your bottle close or in your hand, but you're visualizing the lower legs green. Let go of the visualization for a moment and just be still. Now visualize your legs from your hips all the way down to the bottoms of your feet, still green, not inhaling, still just green. Let go of the visualization and just inhale your oil. You're not directing it anywhere, you're just inhaling your oil. Let go of the inhalation. Just be still for a moment. You're not inhaling the oil anymore. Your awareness is on your arms from the tops of your shoulders down to your fingertips. You're visualizing your arms green. Let go of the visualization. And again, just inhale the oils. You're just inhaling, taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then just let that go. Your awareness is on your pelvis, the front area where the sex chakra is, the sides of your hips, the back of your hips, your butt cheeks. Basically, your whole pelvic girdle. You're visualizing orange. You're holding in your mind orange with your awareness on that part of your body. You're still visualizing orange. Your awareness is still on the pelvic girdle. Move your awareness up to the belly button, all the way around your body, the front, the sides, the back, still orange. Let it go. And inhale the oil again. Then let go. Your whole abdominal cavity, from the bottom of your ribs all the way down to your belly button, you're visualizing blue. All your internal organs, your stomach, that whole area, you're visualizing blue. And then let that go. And again, inhale the oils. And then let go. Your awareness is on your upper back, your mid back, all the way down to the backside of your navel, on the backside, that whole upper, middle, and part of your lower back. Your awareness is there. You're visualizing gold. Let that go. And now the sides of your body, from your armpits all the way down to your hips, gold. You're visualizing gold. Let that go and just inhale your oil a few times. I know, like I gotta move my arm. Let the inhalation go. Your awareness is on your neck, the front, the sides, the back, and across the top of your shoulders here. So your neck and across the top of the shoulders. Your awareness is there. You're visualizing violet. So pretty, pretty violet. And then let it go. And then again, inhale your oils. Let that go. Your whole head, your jaws, your face, the back of your head, the top of your head. You're visualizing brilliant white light with like a bluish violet on the periphery. Think of lightning or a camera flash or a welder's arc. Just bright, bright, bright light. Let that go and inhale your oil for a moment. Continue inhaling. Your awareness is on the sex chakra, where the sex organs are. Move your awareness to the back heart, the area between the shoulder blades. the back throat, the middle of the back of your neck. And the top of your head. Then just pause and be still. Notice how you feel, your thoughts, your emotions, your body. Notice your body feels good. Feel calm down. This is a very, 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 very watered down thing that we're going to be doing in the body mapping class. This is like the version that we do to the public sometimes. But we're going to be doing a much, much stronger version of this. But notice how you feel, the aches, the pains, your emotions, your mind, anxiety. So, okay, we got to slide over to the Astara blessing of the prayer petitions. Join us if you can. Remember, tomorrow night is a study group for the Angel Essentials, but open to everybody since it's a free class. So join us if you can. And, there's a lot of physiology in what we are doing, so it's not just about angels. And if not, this weekend's an off weekend, so I hope you guys have a good weekend, and maybe we see you again next Tuesday.